This is a production of Gordon College's Scot Radio.
Scot Radio.
Welcome to Scot Radio. This is the end. I am one of your co-hosts tonight, Shay Strauss, alongside Liam Carroll and special guest from the photo finish, Benjamin Snyder. Guys, welcome.
Hey,
So,
long time. We've been
it's been a while. Scot Radio, and I'm saying this just solely because we have a director in the building. Finally got their act together. We love you. Please don't shut us down.
Thank you for this great opportunity. Thank you so much, but also please get better. Hey, we got the thumbs up. We're good. All right.
So ultimately, we're gonna try and crash course through as much as possible because ultimatly a lot has happened since spring break. So we're gonna start off with sport.
Did you say spring break?
Since winter break, I said winter break. All right, so yeah, no, I know Ben's gonna get the audio file and just be like, he said spring. All right, so ultimately, I'm gonna start off with some NHL news. The skills competition and All-Star Weekend happened, and big news. They actually had members from the U.S. Olympic team for the women actually compete in the skills competition, and yeah, it was pretty intense. As They said it wasn't easy because they didn't exactly have a whole lot of time to train for it. However, they still were honored by the opportunity to actually show their skills. And looking for the names right now. Megan Duggan, Hannah Brandt, and Hillary Knight, who actually competed.
Oh, Hillary Knight is so good. She's insane.
Yeah, Hillary Knight, actually, fun fact, she actually had a tryout for the Anaheim Ducks, and she made the fourth line for their practice squad for preseason. So
I love the NHL did that because it's getting a lot of diversity and gender in there. That's fantastic.
And that's the thing. Really, they're all about. They're like, look, if you can play, you can play. We don't really give a crap. I mean, just So that happened, and I believe it was Megan Duggan. She was in the speed competition. Actually, placed 6th overall out of 12 competitors. So I mean, she
awesome.
did amazing, and if I get that wrong, I'm sorry, because honestly, right now, this article, honestly, you gotta love my computer. My computer sucks. So, but yeah, it was still a really big night for them. The All-Star Weekend went pretty well. Hillary Knight, she's like, yeah, it was definitely challenging with the shooting competition, but it was a good time all around, and honestly, I'm really glad that they got that diversity in there. So,
of course, we have to talk about the big game that happened while we were away, featuring on one side, the team that had been there in the championship game before with a coach hated by most and a quarterback who had been there before. And on the other side, a fresh face that have seen the Super Bowl before, but led by a young white quarterback. I guess you guys all know what I'm talking about, which is the national championship game, Alabama versus Clemson. Clemson won, by the way, doesn't matter. Okay, actually the Super Bowl. Okay.
So much for waiting until the middle of the show. All right.
All right, guys, we got to kick it off with the Super Bowl because honestly, Patriots won. I went to the parade. It was awesome. But unfortunately...
Fun fact, a photographer on the duck boat actually got hit with a beer can and was sent to the ER.
Woo, Boston! We love you!
Yep.
And honestly, it's like,
Philly was still probably worse last year.
yeah,
probably.
Philly
With the horse poop and everything.
Oh, the riding and the greased poles. Oh, man. But
it was bad.
Unfortunately, Tom Brady winning his 6th ring and maybe now being undoubtedly considered the greatest of all time was just an underlining headline in the story of the Super Bowl, as many people considered Super Bowl 53 to be the worst Super Bowl ever. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Definitely not the worst ever.
Okay.
You got 52 to pick from before that.
Okay, well...
I think it was better than 48.
Okay.
Because 48 was over after the first snap when it went over Peyton Manning's head.
And it was the safety?
That was a blowout.
That was crazy.
Yeah, at least, I mean, this
crazy.
game had a lot of great defense, and there wasn't a lot of scoring, which maybe made it a little bit boring at the start, but
people
at least it was
boring.
close.
And I also got to go into the fact, because actually I'm in a sports sociology class right now. Really, the big thing was the fact that what people were upset about was it wasn't just the game that was boring. Because, I mean, the best way to describe it was like a well-played chess match. Because ultimately, it came down to the coaches. I think we can all agree with that because Bill Belichick was able to outplay,
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay.
Even he admitted that in the post.
Yeah, he said, I got outplayed. But the advertisements, it was a lot more about social justice this year. And they...
Wait. When did they have one for that?
So they have the ones about veterans. Budweiser was talking about clean energy. There was a lot of advertisements involving women's rights with Serena Williams and Bumble. And there was a Toyota commercial about a girl who actually got a full-blown scholarship to a junior college for football in a position, not a kicker. And there's a couple other.
Didn't the Washington Post have an ad?
Washington Post talked about free speech, and my word, there was a couple others, but it definitely took a lot more of a serious route compared to past years, where it's been a lot more about comedy.
I actually completely forgot those commercials.
So I mean,
how boring it was.
Yeah, it just also kind of showed because ultimately people like the Super Bowl. Not a lot of people watched it because if you didn't watch it for the game, you watched it for the halftime show. If you didn't watch it for the halftime show, you watched it for the commercials. And
the fact you bring up the halftime show, can I just get about 7 seconds to myself? Because that's how much time they teased us with Sweet Victory before stupid Sicko Mode came out. And by the way, Travis Scott sounded... I like Sicko Mode. I like Travis Scott. Yeah. I think he sounded awful in that.
He did not do a good job.
And they teased Sweet Victory and didn't actually play it, and I'm so upset.
It would have been better, I think, if they had just not included SpongeBob at all. Because then I think people would have said, well, okay, you know, it takes a long time to plan these, and, you know, maybe the petition was on such short notice. They said, okay,
this
you know.
was really just a meme more
yeah,
than a serious
absolutely.
issue,
but the fact that they brought it in, teased it, and then didn't do the song.
Yeah, and then they did...
It just hurt. That's literally what it was like. You guys are like...
Because we all freaked out. We're like... Holy crap, they're actually
going to happen. It's actually going to happen.
I didn't
like, literally, Liam and I were jumping up and down like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen! And then all of a sudden, I just hear, boom, 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 and I'm like, no! And then I'm just like, I quit. They had one thing. And you know what was hilarious? Is that the halftime show happened before the Dallas Stars played someone, and the Dallas Stars actually made up for the fact they literally the guy went on the microphone. We understand that some of you fans were disappointed with the halftime show. They played Sweet Victory in the middle of the second period.
Yeah, that just nice.
Shows the NHL's been cleaning up the NFL's mess for years. You kidding me? Like, you want to know why the NHL is better than the NBA, NFL, you know, MLB? Because of crap like this.
It's fine. But yeah, that was even that, but even then there was even more controversy outside of a kind of boring game. I wouldn't even say it was defensive. It was because there weren't a ton of takeaways.
Like, it was a good well-coached game. And then there were just plays that just should have happened that didn't, you know?
Even I think Tom Brady,
was not the reason they won that Super Bowl.
No, it was not.
You kidding me? They could have put Brian Hoyer in. No, I think it was Sonny Michel. Sonny Michel played the game of his life.
But then
so.
the halftime show, rather disappointing. I mean, Maroon 5 was fine, but it wasn't anything spectacular.
They put on a concert.
Cool. Like
they put on a concert. That's what they did.
Yeah,
they put on a concert.
When Katy Perry came in on a line, and you're like, whoa, and Lady Gaga jumped from the top of the stadium. Everyone's like, whoa, and now it's just like they put on a concert. Adam Levine took his shirt off, and we all agree he has too many tattoos.
And also, I think Big Boy kind of had I think he stole the show out of that halftime show because Travis Scott
driving up in a car with the
and then it's just
coat.
That was like the big oh wow, this is cool. And I mean, I thought out of everyone he did the best with the performance. I thought Adam Levine he didn't lip sync, which was very impressive because ultimately not a lot of artists like Katy Perry lip sync. I'm 95% sure Lady Gaga lip sync. Justin Timberlake lip synced.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only one in recent memory that I know for a fact didn't lip sync besides Adam Levine was The Who. And that's because
But they're like 60. They're going to sound like crap anyway.
No, but here's the thing. They're used to playing to crowds that big. Like, it's just like, oh, cool. And there's a lot of people in here. Oh, wow, a lot of people are watching at home. Whatever.
Yeah, but even outside of that, there was still some controversy surrounding the game. As down in New Orleans, I think the Saints fans on Bourbon Street were actually hosting an anti-Super Bowl because of a blown call by the refs late in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game.
I was not surprised by that because the Saints got robbed, and the commissioner had something to do about it where he could have had the game rescheduled and replayed. And he could have changed the results.
Rams fans are going to get upset.
Well, they really can't argue that call, though. There's no way they can do it, and under the rules.
100%. Even the quarterback who did it, he's like, sometimes when you mess up, you just got to hit a guy hard and hope the refs don't blow the whistle. It was really he basically admitted.
I mean, one of them actually did admit, yeah, that was a full-blown foul. And however, that being said, there was a rule that the commissioner could have either changed the result of the game because ultimately there's no doubt the Saints would have scored had they caught that ball. It would have been a touchdown.
Or at least they would have. I mean, even if you look before then, Drew Brees had poor time management, with it. But
Yeah,
even
I think that's part of the reason why they didn't change
if
it.
they caught it, it would have been a first down at least.
It would have been a first down, and then they would have gotten a touchdown. Momentum really would have shifted. Then I don't think they would have had. There's a lot of what ifs, and then on top of that, the AFC wasn't exactly blameless. Let's say that with the Chiefs and Patriots, as Tom Brady got flicked on the shoulder, and they called roughing the passer.
Yeah, he brushed his helmet. It was all that. But I think the bigger...
But they've been messing around with that penalty all year.
The NFL actually needs to come up with good roughing the passer rules, because we even saw a bunch of stuff like in the beginning where they were literally like, they were like, oh yeah, you put your full weight on him, and then Chase brought this up to me when Goff was getting tackled putting his full weight on him. They called nothing, so they kind of stopped those penalties after 3 weeks. But it's like, NFL, just figure out what a roughing the passer call is. But even, I think the bigger story...
And then on top of that, the ball was clearly gone where at the point they could have stopped, and then they still went on and tackled him. Honestly, I'm not mad about the game. Honestly, there was holding calls, there was roughing the passer calls missed both ways. There was both ways calls were missed. However, when you flag Clay Matthews, who is arguably a Hall of Famer, arguably, or at least going to go down as one of the best players in Packers history. Yeah. When you're flagging him for clean tackles, and then you get to the biggest game of the year, of the season, and there are hits that are arguably a lot more dirty than that, and you're not flagging it, it genuinely shows that I actually am losing faith in the NFL's officiating capability.
You had faith? Oh my goodness, I lost faith completely after the refs. They literally hired like high school refs to go do it. But even I think the biggest story there was the fact it was such an offensive showdown between Patrick Mahomes, the NFL MVP, and Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, was the fact that the overtime rules, Patriots won the coin toss, marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and the game was over. And everyone's
they need to pull over the college rules.
What?
They need to pull over the college rules, because ultimately, had Pat Mahomes got the chance to get the ball, I think that they would have been able to score a touchdown.
If the coin literally was the other side, Mahomes would have scored a touchdown.
It got to
100% certain.
It got to the point where literally the Patriots only made it to the Super Bowl because of a coin toss.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be determined. A team is better as a coin toss. Like,
the Chiefs had 3 chances to stop a 3rd and 10, and they couldn't do it. Like,
again, but
I'm not saying I like the rule. I don't like the rule either. But
and then on top of that, just like the whole. Honestly, I gotta mention this because ultimately this has been circulating, and this is Everything News Debated. That is the acronym of our show, in case you haven't noticed. The ref can actually be seen on camera actually saying, "Don't worry about it, Tom. I got your back." And then the next play, there's a flag on an offsides that has.
He was offsides though.
But
he was offsides, and B, the refs always talk to the quarterbacks and players in the middle of games.
I think it was back in 2011 or so. Cam Newton thought he got hit late, and this was back when Cam Newton was still, I think 2 or 3 years in the league. I'm not sure on Cam Newton's
You're not old enough to get that call. That's
he said. The ref goes up. He's like, "Come on, ref the call." He's like, "You're not old enough to get that call." And the NFL looked into it. It's just a fact. Like in the NBA, Jordan got calls when he was with the Wizards at the tail end of his career because he was nice with the refs and he knew the guys. And then there were in the MLB, if a pitcher's kind of older, they're gonna widen the strike zone a bit on the corners for him.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I don't really care about the fact that honestly the Patriots won. Ultimately, I thought do I think it should have been Rams Chiefs? Yes, I do.
Saints Chiefs.
Saints Chiefs I could have seen as well. Okay, I thought when I saw the results.
Can we talk about the NFC blown call for?
Okay, I can talk. Okay, when I saw that it was the Saints, Rams, and Patriots, Chiefs, I said it was probably going to be Rams, Chiefs again. That was going to be round 2, and ultimately, I feel like that's a game a lot of people wanted to see because when they played on that Monday Night Football game, it was literally one of the most electrifying football games I have seen.
I even said straight up during the AFC Championship game, if the Chiefs beat the Patriots, I'm okay with it because Patrick Mahomes is so insane.
I mean, all these teams were really insane. It could have gone either way for any of them. The one Super Bowl I really wanted to see, and I'm disappointed that it didn't happen. I wanted to see Brady Breeze because I feel like that would have been something for the ages. Drew Brees arguably one of the most consistent quarterbacks of all time, versus Tom Brady, the most accomplished quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
What's gonna win
Good
out?
wording there.
Yeah.
Not giving him too much credit.
Am I wrong in any statement I just made?
No.
So it really would have, for me, it would have decided, all right, when head to head, who is the best of all time? Because you think about it, when it comes to
you say Joe Montana, I will slap you in the face right now.
Joe Biden.
You're on thin ice, boy. You're on thin ice.
But because ultimately, for me, if you want to, I think that's the thing when it comes to also what Michael Jordan said. If you want, I can't say I'm the best of all time because I haven't gone up against the best of all time. I haven't gone up against the greats.
It was interesting.
That's the thing with just for me, that would have decided the best quarterback of this generation because when it came head to head, who won, and when it mattered the most. And I feel like that would have settled, part of the debate, because Drew would have had 2 rings, Brady still would have had 5, and Drew Brees still, our most consistent quarterback, and right now in the league, in my opinion. So it would have settled a lot of things, and it would have really, if Tom Brady won, he would have been the greatest of all time in this generation, because ultimately there wouldn't have been anyone to hold a candle to him. The only one might have been Aaron Rodgers, and even then, there was no way that was going to happen.
Even there was in the parade, the post-question time they have for Tom Brady, they said, do you think after winning your 6th rings that you're the GOAT? Greatest of all time? He said, I don't like being called the GOAT. That makes me cringe. He literally said, I don't consider myself the greatest of all time. He said he grew up watching Joe Montana and modeled his game after Joe Montana. He's better than Joe Montana. Let's get that out there. But he's literally saying, Joe Montana's great. Dan Marino's great. Heck, I think even Barry Starr, the guy who with
Bart
the
Starr.
Packers.
Yep.
Who was it?
Bart Starr.
Bart Starr. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. That's why we get him here. He knows a lot more than us.
He's a lot
for the
more
first 2
official.
Super Bowl with the Packers. I think even he won 9 championships before the modern Super Bowl era or something.
Yep.
So
Well,
it's
the Packers have
And
13. The Packers have the record for most NFL championships with 13. Only 4 of them are Super Bowls. So
Yeah.
they won 9 before.
And
the
then you also
AFL
have to think about it. What was it? John Heisman?
Heisman.
Yeah,
invented
Heisman.
forward pass.
He invented the forward pass. He honestly, seriously, he coached a team that destroyed a team 221-0, and it was insane. It was insane to think about because ultimately he was so innovative to the game. For me, he is the best football player of all time. Not even solely for the fact based on numbers, but just simply IQ of the game. And in that regard, Tony Romo is also up there as well because honestly, his football IQ is insane. He sucks, but he knows the game.
Can't hold a kick properly. But... All right, okay, guys. All right. Before I just want to wrap the Super Bowl segment because honestly, we could go on for the Super Bowl for
we could
on
probably go for the
how
full
much many
hour.
storylines we want to do. But way too early predictions. I'm gonna start with Ben here since he's the guest. Ben, way too early Super Bowl predictions. Who are you saying wins it next year?
Eagles.
Eagles? Okay.
Well, I'm.
As long as
they
I'm.
Put Nick Foles in.
If they put Nick Foles in, I agree. They'll do well.
Carson
No,
Wentz is gonna get it.
I would say it's probably the Chiefs. In all
Chiefs.
seriousness,
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs have to be the favorite. I'm sure the Patriots are going to come back very, very strong, but I would probably go with the Chiefs just
I think
because
the one
Mahomes
thing-
is only going to get better from here.
I
No,
think for
absolutely.
my way too early prediction, I think I'm probably gonna either have to go with the probably either the Saints or the Chiefs.
Okay.
The Patriots would be up there. However, it's getting to the point now where I think someone eventually is going to figure out Belichick's game plan. That's what happened in Jacksonville. Literally, Jacksonville, when they beat the Patriots this season, they had New England's number.
It couldn't beat us last year in the
it's-
AFC Championship game, but
No, well, this past season, you get the point. It was arguably one of the most shocking results because ultimately Jacksonville, they had a very mediocre season this year.
I think even after they beat the Patriots, they were 0-4 after that.
Yeah,
Heck, even the Lions with the Matt Patricia, even he Lions.
Lions were 6-10.
Yeah, and they
And
decimated
last place
the
in the
Patriots.
NFC North.
The
Yep.
Super Bowl.
and it's going to be scary. Because honestly, if they figure out the Patriots, it doesn't matter if you got the greatest of all time. It doesn't matter if you got Edelman and all these other people. If they figure out your game plan, you're screwed. And eventually, because think about it. It's the whole reason they have a relief pitcher. Because eventually the pitchers figure out the starter, and honestly, if they figure out the starter, it's literally just a slugfest from there. So I'm gonna have to go with either Saints or Chiefs. So
Yeah, I understand that, but
that's just my opinion.
But
and I'm
you
not
know,
allowed to have an
Patriots
opinion.
obviously gonna win the 2020 Super Bowl. I mean, come on, Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady's gonna be 42 by that time. I know people have been saying he's been on the decline for years, which he has been. He's still great, but honestly, I think it's time. We have a great quarterback class this year. I'm going to count Patrick Mahomes solely because first-year starter. Sam Darnold had a very nice year for the Jets.
Given what he had.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield came in, I think, like 6 games late. He still did great.
Lamar Jackson,
I'm sorry.
Josh Allen.
But
Josh Allen was able to revive the Bills franchise to make it so that they were actually respectable.
Yeah. I honestly think, in my honest opinion, it's the Chiefs or some other one time to shine. And quite honestly, I'm okay with that. All right, going on to another story, actually, that's very interesting that's been happening is the story of Maya Moore. Now, Maya Moore plays for the Minnesota Lynx, and she's been
For
with
those
that
of you
team.
who don't know, that is a WNBA team.
But yesterday, Maya Moore, who I'll read you her accolades in just a minute, and let me tell you, they're insane. But Maya Moore, arguably the best player in the WNBA right now, she came out on the Players Tribune announcing that she'd be taking the 2019 season off. In the article, she says, quote, how do I measure success? I measure success by asking, am I living out my purpose? I learned a long time ago that my purpose is to know Jesus to make him known. She goes on further to say, my focus in 2019 will not be on professional basketball, but will instead be on the people in my family, as well as on investing my time in some ministry dreams that have been stirring in my heart for many years. Now, to give you some background for Maya Moore, she's been in the league for 8 years. She's a 4-time WNBA champion, the 2014 WNBA MVP, 2013 Finals MVP, 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-First Team, the 2011 Rookie of the Year, and many, many, many more stretching all the way back to college. But the point is, Maya Moore is one of the best, if not the best, WNBA player in the league right now, and she is stepping away to spend time with her family and to focus on her ministries and her relationship with Jesus. It's essentially the equivalent as if, let's just say, LeBron James, at the end of this season, announced that he's going to step away to follow his true passion of Jesus, which, I mean, Maya Moore has for a long time been a outstanding Christian athlete. I don't believe LeBron James is a Christian athlete, but essentially this is a huge story, and honestly, it's a great reason to step away from professional basketball.
And
honestly.
I think it's
LeBron talks about the man up there occasionally, but I don't know what I've ever heard him mention.
Sounds more Scientologist than Christian.
I don't know.
I think honestly, the whole big reason why we're reporting on this is because, Christians in media often aren't represented in a very fair light. Because if we're not perfect little angels like Tim Tebow, we are often, we're pretty much crapped on. I mean, I hate to be a little blunt there, but
I entirely agree with you.
It's one of those things where it's like it's hard to understand why. However, it's about being bold in your faith. I mean, like, seriously, like with Chris Pratt, he was doing the Daniel fast, and people were like, "Oh, really? You're going to be a part of a religion that doesn't respect the LGBTQ plus, alphabet behind it? Like, there's so many letters, we can't keep up. All right, but had it been anyone else, it really would have if it was a Muslim trying to promote their Muslim faith, it would have been applauded. But because she is a Christian, it's just like, oh, whatever, sweep it under the rug. And, I mean, this kind of does go into just the media, because, honestly, the media has a lot of power. And even in the world of sports, the media has a lot of power. Because, honestly, say ESPN is able to publish an article that says LeBron James is caught with a bunch of, hookers and whatever, essentially ruining his reputation. Even if that story's fake, it's got to cause enough of an uproar for LeBron to really feel the effects and possibly lose sponsorships. So it's difficult because ultimately, it's Christian persecution. But then again, I'm going to get a little scriptural here. I mean, we're expected to face persecution. Like, we're not, it's not like, oh, you might do it. We're literally promised we're going to be persecuted. So props to you, Maya Moore, for actually sticking up for your beliefs, because you know what? not a lot of people would be able to have the courage to do what you're doing right now. Props to you.
Oh yeah, no, it's very hard to do that. I think one person who his name is Sharif Abdur-Rahman. He was a point guard for the Vancouver Grizzlies for a while back.
Vancouver Grizzlies.
Yeah, now the Memphis Grizzlies. That's how long ago it was.
And they never
in the
changed
80s.
conferences, even though Memphis is much more in the eastern half of the country
weird.
than...
It's in Tennessee. It's weird, but basically what he did is he refused to stand for the national anthem, which got him blacklisted on the NBA. He enacted his faith that way, so not getting into the whole standing during the anthem thing. We've had plenty of shows on that, but it's kind of like, yeah, unfortunately, I think it's very hard to follow your faith, Christian, whatever it may be, around in a professional sports league, because even players have come out and talked about alcoholism, prostitution,
drugs,
plenty of drugs that we have seen throughout there, and it's hard doing that, and having to focus completely on your game and your team and your sport. It's very hard to do that while also trying to fully live for God. I'll use my more in this example for Christianity. It's very hard to do that, and that's why her stepping away to focus on it's unbelievably brave, because not only is she just like the best player in the WNBA and she's a Christian, she's choosing her faith over the fame and glory of a professional sport, and that to me is just incredible.
All right, so on to arguably everyone's favorite part of the show: 2 real, 1 fake news.
Oh boy, okay, we'll get into NBA trade rumors after that, but yeah, go on.
But so we have a lot of things that could be real or fake news. All right, first up, we got Hawaii considers raising the legal smoking age to 100 years old. So right now, the proposal of the law would effectively amount the cigarette ban to the U.S. island by 2024. Hawaii already has some of the toughest laws on cigarette sales, but the Democratic politician Richard Cregan, I think that is, who is a doctor, believes more needs to be done than to ban the deadliest artifact in human history. Basically, we essentially have a group that are heavily addicted, in my view, enslaved, ridiculously bad industry, which, basically, he's calling the cigarette a form of, like, illegal drug, basically. Saying that it's really bad for human, and it's addictive. And, essentially, right now, he's proposing to raising the cigarette buying age to 30 next year, 40 in 2021, 50 in 2022, and 60 in 2030, or, essentially raising the year by 10, 20, 30, whatever. Basically, until it's 100 years old. You better not be Googling
I'm not looking
the
it up.
answers.
I'm not looking it up.
So, all right, next.
That sounds ridiculous enough to be fake, but also reasonable enough that it could be true.
Right
I
now,
gotta see these other stories.
So right now we got reports that a polar bear is living on the Hebron Island in Scotland, or around the Scottish Channel, or Scottish Island, excuse me. It has been forced to head south after getting stranded on an ice cap, and it broke off the melting sheet of ice broke off away from the Arctic Circle ice cap, and currently has been living there for 3 months, according to some sources. Locals have been trying to get pictures, and right now there is a poll on the local newspaper what to name it. Right now, whiskey is the number one choice because racist stereotypes on Scottish people. All right. All right. If you got to name the polar bear, what would it be? What would the name be? All right.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
It's not even a question.
All right. So Coca-Cola, Ben.
People are dumb.
I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they're showing the map, and I mean, that bear. I mean, like right now, they're kind of concerned, that it might be malnourished because of right now they're saying that how far the away island is from where it's projected that the ice cap came from. So they have been, or local animal authorities, however, what is it, animal rescuers? I don't even know. Or, have been constantly trying to make sure that it's properly fed, properly nutritioned and everything. And there's talks about potentially getting it captured and brought back. However, nothing has been confirmed yet.
Ooh, this is tough, actually.
Yeah. All right.
World
War I grenade discovered among a potato chip factory in Hong Kong.
Whoa, wait. World War I wasn't fought in China!
Hong Kong police destroyed a German-made grenade in World War I on Saturday morning after the device cropped up in a shipment of imported potatoes at a local potato chip factory. The grenade, described by authorities as having been caked with mud and dirt, was discovered by the workers at the by the Japanese snack maker Calbee in southern China. Morning Post reported. They used high-pressure water firing technique to safely detonate the weapon. Their Twitter or whatever social media they have just put, we detonated a German-made World War I hand grenade earlier this afternoon. Hashtag Hong Kong police emergency safeguarding E.O.D. See, you would think when you think you're looking through this, you would think, oh hey, this doesn't really feel like a potato. Because it's not a freaking potato! Dude, I'm sorry. At the tech, this is her first time, and she's probably just like, how much? No, I didn't know. Sorry. I'll try to be quiet. But the superintendent, it was imported from France together with other potatoes, CNN reported. Dave Marcy, a military historian, told the Morning Post that the grenade had likely been dug up at an accident by potato harvesters in France. If it was covered in mud, the grenade likely would have been left behind, dropped by soldiers during the war, or left there after it was thrown by enemies. And yeah, it's just... That really is just one of the weirdest stories I have ever covered on the show. And I covered some chick jumping off a boat because she didn't want to pay a $20 ticket.
That's gotta be the fake one.
All right,
okay,
so we got one vote for the World War I hand grenade.
I actually don't know because I know they've covered up World War II bombs in Germany before. So and honestly, the war in France stretched so far. I don't even know. The smoking one, you said they were in Hawaii. They were.
They're trying right now. They're in the process of trying to raise the age to 100 years old to buy cigarettes and smoke.
Why can't you just ban it altogether?
Because they don't. It's their right to smoke. However, we're just gonna make it virtually impossible to smoke.
Okay.
Right.
I gotta take a shot in the dark on this one. I am just gonna say that it's the. I gotta go with Ben. It's the potato chip one. There's no way.
All right, so just for you folks listening at home, no one went for the Hawaii smoking age. No one went for the polar bear in the ice cap coming to Scotland.
Because it's like a 100-year-old
everyone
grenade.
is talking about the World War I hand grenade. The fake one is the polar bear.
What?
So, actually, this was an April Fool's news story as someone photoshopped what looked to be a polar bear on the Scottish Channel, and it actually got a lot of attraction to the point where wildlife authorities actually investigated the fact and did not find a polar bear.
You mean to tell me there was a grenade in a potato chip factory?
Well,
That's 100 years old from World War I?
Yep.
Jeez, I can't imagine being active.
That
makes sense. Cigarettes are going to give you cancer.
So... Take the potato chip one with a grain of salt because this is from Huffington Post. Okay, that's all I have to say on that. But yeah, no, I told you that was the weirdest story I've ever covered.
Because it was kind of unfair that you brought it up because with the polar vortex coming down from Antarctica, I figured the polar bear stays with the cold, and it must have gone further south, and it's still cold and polar bearish temperatures, and then it's okay. But no, okay. Oh man, that was tough. That was really tough.
That was probably the best job I've done with the 2 real 1 fake news. So.
Oh, I have to agree. That was really good. That was really good.
Anyway, speaking of fake news, Donald Trump. So
I thought we were going to talk about the NBA.
Oh yeah, we are going to talk about the NBA. Okay.
All right, NBA trades. All right, we got some great.
He's getting really excited. I gotta let him have his fun.
It's NBA or Donald Trump. It's really close between those two for me. But
coming from the leftist, yeah, if he's going with the NBA, it's a big deal.
Okay, so basically there were 2 huge trades and 2 big stories affecting us. Well, the first one, I'll let Ben cover the second one because it involves his 76ers. But the first one, the New York Knicks and Dallas Mavericks make a trade. Kristaps Porzingis, the star centerpiece and all-star for the New York Knicks, was traded along with Courtney Lee, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Dennis Smith Jr., DeAndre Jordan, Wesley Matthews, and 2 first-round picks. And I just got to say, James Dolan is the stupidest man alive. Like here's
Yup.
here's what people forget. People forget that a few years ago in the draft, I think 2 years ago, Dennis Smith Jr. is a sophomore. They had the opportunity to draft Dennis Smith Jr., but they passed on him in exchange for Frank Niniltakala. I'm sorry, he's a very complicated last name. But so they traded away their franchise centerpiece in Kristaps Porzingis for Frank Niniltakala and two expiring contracts. And the whole thing is like they now have room for 2 max players, and they're trying to get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. But who wants to go to the Knicks? They're a garbage organization.
I think it's just the whole big thing of, oh, yeah, New York, that's a big thing. But
I'd rather play in Brooklyn, honestly, at this point. The Nets are the 6th seed. They're doing well.
I mean, that is also true. And, I mean, you think about it, the whole reason the Knicks were the butt end of a lot of jokes because ultimately they took on Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, which was stupid.
Oh, that was so dumb.
That was a stupid trade on their part. However, they're starting to pull it around, and honestly, props to them. They're finally getting their act together. It's just good on their part. I mean, I don't think that the Knicks, to be very honest, they should have kept. I think they shouldn't have made this trade because you know what?
No, just
if
keep Kristaps. Star players attract star players. Keep Kristaps in.
And ultimately, if he was in the league right now, like playing, I mean, I know he's hurt, but if he was playing right now, I think he'd be challenging Giannis Antetokounmpo, whatever.
It's Greek.
Yeah, like you can tell. I think he'd be challenging for MVP right now, because ultimately it's him, James Harden, and Kristaps Porzingis. I think those would be the 3.
He keeps getting hurt.
That's literally what it comes down to is he keeps getting hurt. However, when he's healthy, he's dangerous. Really dangerous.
And Kristaps and Luka Doncic playing together. All right, we can cover this.
Maybe the next Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash combination.
That'd be nice.
In Dallas,
That'd be nice. I'd like that. I'll let Ben cover the next trade.
Yes,
Ben,
so the Philadelphia 76ers and Los Angeles Clippers agreed to a blockbuster around 2 a.m. this morning. Philadelphia gets Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, and Mike Scott for Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, and Landry Shamet, a 2020 Philadelphia first-round pick, and a 2020 first-round pick from the Miami Heat via the Sixers, and 2 future second-round picks, both from the Detroit Pistons via the 76ers, if you could follow all of that.
Well,
the main point is Tobias Harris.
Yeah, so basically what I got from that is that the Sixers traded 3 people coming off their bench in exchange for Tobias Harris, a giant from I don't even know where Boban's from. He's from the Baltics. I think he's from Latvia, and Mike Scott, who really doesn't mean anything. And they gave up other people's picks. I mean, it's just a great trade for the Sixers because now their starting lineup consists of
Jimmy Butler.
Who's their point guard? I completely forgot.
Ben Simmons.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ben Simmons, J.J. Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous. It's going to be
76ers, Celtics, and Raptors fighting for essentially the first place.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm kind of happy because ultimately, right now, the West is basically a crapshoot. Because you could either get, if LeBron is healthy and all the Lakers are healthy, they're in the conversation. You got Golden State, you got the Thunder, you got Houston, you got, what is it, the Timberwolves, or not the Timberwolves, the Timberwolves aren't
Trailblazers.
Trailblazers. You got
Blazers are good.
Spurs.
Nuggets are a half game behind the Warriors.
Yeah, you got a lot of teams who really could be, the first place. But now the East is finally starting to, attract players again. It's gonna be dangerous.
And I think the insane thing about the Tobias Harris trade is literally the Clippers aren't doing bad. They're in the AC. They actually have a better record than the Lakers right now. And 5 hours before he was traded, Tobias Harris hit a game-winning shot for the Clippers. And it was insane, fadeaway off 1 foot. And he wins the game 5 hours later, he gets traded. Clippers don't know how to treat their players. They traded away Blake Griffin after signing him to a massive extension. And now they're doing decent with Tobias, who is a star, Shea Gregorius-Alexander, who's making his way up. He's doing very good. But unfortunately, this rookie class is dominated by Luka Doncic. It's they have pieces. They could make moves, but once again, Doc Rivers is a moron. Talking about the guy who gave the starting job to his son. It's literally nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
But
Silver spoon.
yeah, literally silver spoon. But and
Dude,
also
it's like a gold spoon at this point.
the big story that everyone's been talking about is the fact that Anthony Davis wants out of New Orleans. I don't blame him. Anyway, he wants out of New Orleans, and he wants to go to a winning team. The top two people right now are the Celtics and the Lakers. However, the Celtics, based off the Rose Rule, are unable to make an offer for Davis until July 1st. And so the Lakers, they've been negotiating with the Pelicans, and the Lakers' final offer included Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Ivica Zubac, totally butchered that name, I'm sorry, I'm bad with Slavic names, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and 2 first-round picks. The Pelicans said...
So basically what you're telling me is half their starters and half their bench.
Yeah, it's literally... I think Lance Stevenson was in there at some point, but they're literally like, okay, 6 players and 2 picks. And the Pelicans are like, how about you give us those 6 players, 2 more first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks? And Mac Johnson said, no! Are you kidding me? I'm not giving away half my team and my future for 1 player. And I don't blame him. And it's been reported by Adrian Wojnarowski, who, if you're not familiar, he's kind of like the go-to trade guy and signing. And he's literally just like, yeah, trade talks are dead. And the Pelicans are hoping to wait till the summer to trade for Anthony Davis to the Celtics, but they want Jason Tatum to be a part of that deal.
Honestly, the president of the Celtics even said, you can take anyone besides Kyrie and Tatum.
Yep, he listed 2 players that are not available for trading. Said Kyrie Irving and
Jason Tatum.
Yeah, this from the LA Times. One Lakers personnel member was quoted as saying they wanted more and more and more. There was no more to give. They had cap relief with Hill being in the deal, but the more they wanted, the more it became outrageous and unrealistic.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, okay, if I was the Pelicans, when they offered me Lonzo, Kuzma, Hart, Zubac, and 2 first-round picks, I take that in a heartbeat. That's phenomenal. Young guys and picks for Davis, a guy who won't re-sign with you in the offseason.
And then on top of that, you
They're
think about it. The Lakers are doing crap anyway right now.
Didn't they lose by 42 the other night?
They lost by 42
LeBron?
to the Pacers with the King.
Worst loss of his career.
You know what? If I'm the Pelicans, all right, basically you're giving me your starters, 3 of your starters. All right, you know what? We may not have Davis, but we got a lot of young talent who can come up. Because honestly, Kuzma, I think if given the proper role, I think he could be one of the next big elite players in the league. I think he can. I think he's got the potential. And I'm not talking like the next Kyrie Irving or LeBron James. I think he has the potential to be like a Ben Simmons.
I think more of a John Stockton role.
Yeah.
Good defense. I mean, not as good as John Stockton, but good defense. Pass first point guard with drop in 18 a game.
Yeah, like nothing
And
where
12
it's going to
assists
be.
per game.
That's not exactly John Stockton level because Stockton had Malone.
Yeah.
But you get the point. One of those most players where it's just like, you know what? He's reliable, contention for an all-star bid every year. Just, one of those players where it's like, you know what? I can trust him. Then again, I'm sorry, if you're asking for 4 first-round picks, I wouldn't even give that to you for Anthony Davis. No way. Because ultimately, 4 first-round picks, especially in the draft class when you got Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, about 10 other people.
Cam Reddish.
And about 10 other people.
Bol.
I have no idea who that is. But
Son of Manute Bol. He's 7 foot 5 inches and he's a point guard.
Either way, you get the point.
And his name is Bol.
You get the point. This is one of the most valuable drafts that we will see for a very long time. So to simply give it away and potentially, because right now we got a lot of good young and up-and-coming basketball players coming up right now. To give away 4 first-round picks is suicide.
Literally.
It is literally suicide. So, smart on the Lakers. You know what? I would make one more offer where it's just like, look, you can have the offer you had, beforehand. We will keep that on the table until the trade deadline. However, you are not getting 4 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks.
Lakers are not going to talk to the Pelicans at all. Just as a professional courtesy, they'd be like, you disrespect us in the franchise with such a crappy offer like this, and then you don't accept it. Just get out of here. We don't want to talk with you.
So, either way, I can understand, a lot of, where they're all coming from, but ultimately, the Lakers, they saved themselves from this.
Literally, yeah, I think the team's okay the way it is. Just need some time to develop. Maybe add 1 or 2 more pieces.
But anyway, talking about crappy offers, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'm hilarious. So right now,
appreciate
obviously,
you, Chase.
a lot of people know State of the Union address happened, and it was met with a lot of mixed reactions. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm looking right now. I'm at dailycost.com. So you can. This is the Twitter blow-by-blow recap of Donald Trump's State of the Union address. Because honestly, real news is not trustworthy when it comes to Donald Trump. But actually, fun fact: Donald Trump is at a 44% approval rating right now, and 53% disapprove, according to data provided by Civics. So,
And this from CBS News. Poll via YouGov, 76% of viewers polled actually approved of his speech last night.
yeah.
I mean, it is the State of the Union.
And I feel like right now, really kind of what he did was he didn't really try to pull a whole lot of punches to the point where it was just like a slaughterhouse like it was when he was running for president. It wasn't that bad where he's literally telling Hillary Clinton, yeah, I'm going to send you to jail. But
I love how...
yeah,
Literally,
it's really
Trump is praised
it's a
for
good
not
thing that people
being
like
an idiot.
Donald are not in office because it would abuse power. Yeah, and you'd be in jail. And everyone's just like, oh! Sorry, I did it again. I'm getting the evil eye from the tech. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying.
I love how Trump has literally set the standard so low that if he doesn't insult a minority group while up there, people said he did a fantastic job. It's like, when you look back,
he did.
He read off a teleprompter. I mean,
name a president that hasn't done that.
Don't they all? Well, I mean, since
they do, because that's what is expected of them.
Yeah.
Literally, if you have an accountant who every day messes up your numbers, does a terrible job, then one day he actually does his job right. Do you praise him? No, you say, good, you did your job. Now do it again tomorrow.
Well, yeah, you'd still give him praise, though.
Not if he does a crappy job the whole time.
Yeah, you give him praise because positive reinforcement leads to actually doing your job better again. And if he doesn't, you fire him.
Oh, that's great, except we can't fire the President of the United States.
Yeah, you can.
It's called impeachment. Which
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
not waiting 2 years to get a racist out of office.
Yeah, we did a stat check on that. It is not true.
That Donald Trump is racist.
I'm doing this to annoy you because I know how easily you get offended with
Moving
Donald
on.
Trump.
Basically,
All right, so, okay, just kind of give you an overview. Dan Crenshaw, we've talked about him on the show a lot, wore a State of the Union eye patch where it was custom made and polished with maple wood with a very fine stain, and he had the he had his seal, like the seal patch, like the badge where it's an eagle with its head down low, actually put onto the eye patch, and it actually looked amazing. And he brought his wife out, and it was just really just a class act because Dan Crenshaw he's what the future of politics needs to look like. Just a class act all around, because I have yet to really see anything that really would make me say he's a really crappy politician. So it's just like that kind of character, but then again, he's also a Navy SEAL, so I mean, you kind of have to expect that kind of character. Easy answer: make Navy SEALs politicians. All right. So all the Democratic women, or all the women who were Democrats, wore all white, and it's kind of terrifying to see a whole bunch of Democrats in white clapping, because the last time that happened was during slavery.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, I had to make that joke once.
I thought the last
I'm
time
sorry.
it happened was Republicans at Charlottesville last year.
Yeah, but they weren't in office. So, but besides the point, I literally...
That's a joke, people.
It's
a joke.
Honestly, if we were being serious, we would not be using sarcastic overtones.
I can never tell with you.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
But, okay, essentially the whole State of the Union, it was interesting because if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, the government was still in shutdown. Here's an idea to let you know. The government shutdown lasted 35 days. That was longer than Gordon's winter break.
Yep. Not a good thing.
And no, it was literally like, it's what you expected. I'm not going to say it was anything special. He over-exaggerated a lot of claims. like, and people point out, he's like, oh, black unemployment, that's the lowest it's been in years. It's like,
Well, I mean, that's something
yeah,
to celebrate.
it was,
I mean,
but it wasn't because of Trump, and he's touting it as his own achievement. Let me give you an example. When Obama took office in 2018, black unemployment was at 15.7%. When Obama left office, it was at about 6.7%. Now it's hovering around 5%. And Trump is taking credit for that. It's like, or is that just following economic trends?
Well, it doesn't matter if he's following trends. It's still a monument. It's still something to be celebrated.
It's not something that he should take credit for, which he has been taking credit for nearly every single week.
But it's still something to be celebrated. I'm not saying that, taking credit for it isn't like a scummy move, but whatever. Also, something that I feel
It's
like...
also just politics.
True, it is politics. You take credit for things that aren't yours. It's literally like that person who says they did all the work in a group project and then they don't do anything.
Shh, don't point me out.
Yeah, anyway. So, actually, some fun fact. I actually didn't know this, but Rick Perry was actually the designated survivor for the State of the Union address. And
No, that's cool.
And I feel like I know there was that show Designated Survivor where essentially everyone dies in the when there was a State of the Union.
Every year, the State of the Union, since literally all of the House of Representatives, all the senators, the Supreme Court justices, and members of the cabinet are there. It's when the 1,000 most powerful people in Washington are all together, and God forbid an earthquake happen at that exact spot and everyone dies. They leave one cabinet member out, so they would assume the position of presidency. So far, it's never been used, and I really hope it never has to be used. That would be awful.
I mean, the show that they actually showed it actually is very terrifying to think because he doesn't want that to happen, but then as soon as it happens, like, it's an honor. It's like, oh, wow, I'm the designated survivor. You actually think I'd be able to do this? Then
I think it was. Don't they just select a name literally out of a hat?
I honestly have no idea. But,
Yeah, I don't know either.
But then all of a sudden you realize, crap, I actually have to run this country if something goes wrong. It's kind of intimidating.
Before I just had to worry about agriculture and farming, and now I have to worry.
And then I have to worry about that crazy, person on the other side who always gave me crap when I'm just trying to pass a bill that would really help my state out.
Before I was just counting pigs, and now I have to count numbers on nuclear launch codes. It's
intimidating.
But yeah.
Also, I think we got to mention this since we're kind of going on the random facts of the State of the Union. Donald Trump's sniff counter, where every time he would sniff, someone on Twitter would go that's 45 people, and that's how many he sniffed.
The weird thing that Trump does, where he's like, okay, it's really weird what he does. And as Chase mentioned, someone brought up the sniff counter, it went up to 45, which I think was once every 2 minutes.
I mean, the guy's what, 73?
He's 72.
He's an old man. He can sniff if he wants to. Again, sorry. Literally, her fingers hovering over my microphone button. Just all right.
It's just
you're getting your work cut out for you today.
Even if,
okay, I'm sorry.
At the beginning of the State of the Union, Trump's tie was literally over on his the left part of his chest, and it wasn't straight down.
I feel like he's just a grandfather that everyone knows is really insane, but we really can't do anything about it.
He's your crazy conspiracy neighbor.
He's literally
except he's the president.
Yeah.
But okay. It's actually interesting. Here's actually something interesting that's happening in Virginia right now. Ralph Northam, governor of Virginia, some photos arised from his med school yearbook that showed, it was on his page, is how they credit to him, showed at a party a person in blackface next to a person in a KKK outfit, and it was on his page, and he claimed it wasn't him, which any person would do if they were accused of being blatantly racist. And it also, I believe it is him, because in 1984, for a Halloween party when he was a young politician, he went as Michael Jackson dressed in blackface with shoe polish on his face, and he apologized for that, but this seems to kind of be a reoccurring thing. In fact, even in 2013, the med school that Ralph Northam attended, they actually stopped producing the yearbook because they said the photos were getting too racist. This is in 2013, before this even happened. And so Democrats from Virginia are calling Ralph Northam to resign, but he is meeting it with much resistance.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what you got to do. But breaking news right now, coming from Istanbul, there is a building that collapsed, a major building right now. There, at least 2 people are dead and 7 were injured, and it's feared that others may be trapped inside, leaving around 43 people and 14 flaps. Istanbul Governor Ali Yakir, this is just breaking right now. So it's still not known what caused the disaster on Wednesday afternoon. According to the governor, 3 stories of the building had been added illegally, and the textile workshop on the building's lower floor was empty at the time. Praise God. So it collapsed around 1600 hours local time. Our thoughts and prayers, obviously, to these people and the first responders who are trying to save these survivors. And yeah, really, I don't like reporting on these tragedies because ultimately I feel like, it really brings up the question, why do good people have to suffer? However, this is news. And I mean, I feel like, just because it's, this didn't happen in America, you still need to know.
Yeah. And I mean, why do good people suffer? God promises that because we are Christians, our lives are going to be harder and will be met with challenges.
That's
anyway.
a whole theological debate, and I'm learning about it right now. So, I mean, I really can't say a whole lot. But, I mean,
even also, it's like God is physically incapable of creating evil.
I mean, we
that
brought
is
that
not
into the world in our first place. So
it was us that is control of Satan, but God can use it for different ways.
All right, on a still depressing note, Gordon College
Has no money.
Ouch.
Okay, here's we go. Gordon College. We got 3 minutes left. I'm gonna go right through this real quick. Gordon College had lost $4 million this last financial year. Thank you, Chase. And this is poor money management on Gordon's part. The Tartan.
They released the article around. Around 8 o'clock a couple weeks ago. Right now, I think the biggest fear is that a department's gonna get cut.
Departments, tenured teachers, and other programs.
There's
are
some
going to
people
get cut,
that they
and we
really
don't know.
and right now, according to several sources, they actually asked tenured teachers to voluntarily step down to help out the greater good of Gordon College. None of them accepted.
Why would they automatically just seem like, yeah, I'll totally just lose my job? It's like, why should I have to pay for crappy mistakes you made?
I mean,
minor cuts are already being seen around campus with the fact that we can no longer order food from the back room at late night, and they cut late nights on Friday and Saturday night, as well as cutting hours all around.
Cut Gillies
cutting
from
hours
2 to
around.
7 p.m.
Yeah,
on
they cut.
weekdays, yep.
They cut Gillies. They cut out the deli and all that. And honestly, I hate it because we chose to come to the school and gave you their money. Like, for instance, DML mentioned at the panel, Gordon gives $30 million a year in scholarships, and we're one of the top 100 most generous colleges in the world. Cool. I have no problem with being generous, but if we're $4 million in debt, how about you don't do that?
Right now, we're going to have to close the show on a sad and depressing note, but make sure to tune in next week, same time, same place. Also tune in to the photo finish.
Mondays, 9 o'clock.
Mondays, 9
For
o'clock.
now.
For now,
Yeah,
we don't know.
Trying to, Matt's
Follow,
got some...
follow Ben on and follow the photos finish on Instagram. He'll keep you updated on stuff like
Instagram,
that.
Twitter, any social media.
YouTube. I post the podcasts
Yep.
a couple
And
days after there as well. Matt's got men's ministry on Monday nights, so we're trying to work around that.
I
see
mean,
if we can get a new time
that's a
slot,
somewhat viable excuse,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, right now, I also do have to say this. I'm going to be the positive one here. Honestly, President Lindsay, if you are listening to this, I have faith in this school. I believe in this school, and I can tell you that a lot of other people do. Fight for this school, Mr. Lindsay. Please. Have a good night, everyone.